Hey guys, what's up? Welcome to this virtual training, and today is going to be a good one. This is really the staple of any scalable business, and that is understanding the difference between delegating and systemizing. Delegating versus creating systems. One is kind of the mindset of a small one-person shop, two-person shop, three-person shop, versus the mindset of somebody who is building something that can scale to infinity. And that's why this is probably the bread and butter of our company. This is the bread and butter of any large company. Think Tesla, think Amazon, think McDonald's, think all these different places. And it's the reason why they are able to hire and scale and grow businesses with thousands and thousands and thousands of employees. And so I'm excited to get into this. Let's jump right in. All right, so one of the biggest pains that most business owners have, I would say all business owners at some point in time have, is that they start to find that when they left their corporate job or they went to build what they wanted to build, they ended up doing everything themselves. They ended up really creating the worst job that you possibly could have, because not only are you the one that's doing all the work, you are working on weekends, everything's falling on you, you have no vacation time, no sick time, no nothing, right? And so what essentially happens at that point is you start hiring your next person. You start hiring you think that, okay, well, since I could do this, I know I can train somebody else to do this. And so then you look online and you start to say, well, because I need somebody to handle my social media management, or I need somebody to handle my customer service, or I need somebody to handle this specific job, I'm going to start searching for people who have that experience. And you get all excited, you put your job requisition out there, and you say all the things that you want them to be able to do and what they have to have years of experience in. And you hire them and you start to train them. You sit down with them, you get on a Zoom call with them, whatever it might be, and you feel like you've accomplished a lot of things in that hour or two or 3 or 4 or 5, 6 hours that you spend with this person. You let them go and do the task, and not too long after that, you start getting questions. You start getting wait, you mentioned how to do this thing, and I kind of forgot the process for this. Can you kind of help me with it again? Can you double check my work on this? Can you see if I did this the right way? Is this email draft correct? Is this ad campaign correct? And pretty soon, not only are you doing your job, you are going back and doing their job, and then you're doubling that by having to train them again to do that same job that you just sat down training. So this delegating, this form of delegation has not only just completely destroyed your dreams of letting this task go that you hired them for, it's adding more onto your plate. So delegating, just by itself, delegating is it's a natural response to a real pain. But the delegation of just, let me train this person, let me tell them, let me brain dump onto them, what it leads to is a lot of confusion. There's no clarity involved, and a lot of the times it's going to just lead to a lot of questions coming back at you. Now, don't get me wrong, this can work. And for a lot of small businesses that have maybe 2, 3, maybe max 5 people, doing this type of delegating can work. And it takes a lot of time. It usually takes months and months of time. And what happens is all of that is in the person's head. All of that information that you've dumped onto them stays in their head, which is fine when they're around. It's fine when everything's going according to plan. But with all that time that you spent on them, they become they can become an asset because they're helping you to build something now that you don't have to be there sitting with them. But they also become a liability. In fact, I was with one of my past clients before when I was doing systems consulting, and they hired me to see what was wrong with their business. And one of the things that was wrong with their business was they had a person who had to pay out their investors every month. But that person, if they were sick, they were the only ones who knew how to pay out the investors correctly. And if you messed up on this thing, that could be $10, $20, $100, $200,000 per shot that could go down the drain or go to the wrong investor, and then you have to beg them to pay you back. So this is where delegation can be an asset, meaning that, you spend all this time training them, you spend all this time mentoring them, and they're finally able to do that job. But it can become that liability when they are the single point of failure. Now, let's shift over to what I like to call real systematic delegation. This is where you have already documented the actual procedure for whatever it is that you are teaching the person, or you create a video and have them document the process, and then they own the process. And so rather than going and sitting down with them and training them and mentoring them and so on, you're literally telling them, hey, I'm going to send you a video. I'm going to send you a video of how we do this process. I want you to document the entire process, step by step. And then from there, I want you to actually do it. Okay? And you do this for every single process that you want them to take over. You do this for every single task that you want them to take over. When you do this, you create process after process after process. And those processes are put into your system. So you might have a lead generation system. You might have a Facebook marketing system. You might have systems within systems. So for your marketing system, you might have your social media marketing system that has your Facebook marketing system, that has your Facebook ad creation process. And it might have your Facebook organic content creation process. And so each process is part of a system, and each system might be a part of a larger system. Okay? And when you start creating in this way, process after process, you're going to start building systematically a machine that works with you or without you. It works with you or the person that you hired, or without them. You can bring on anybody. See, like, the problem is when you hire somebody for a specific task rather than somebody who's kind of like a blank slate, is you're kind of thinking that I'm going to hire this person to solve one problem, but you can actually have a person who solves a multitude of problems for you. And that becomes something where when you go on vacation, that person that now has an entire library of every single process that's a part of every single system, they can handle the vast majority of your business. And then from there, they're able to teach. You hire somebody else, they're able to then do the same thing with that other person. And so down the line, you are not training, you're not delegating, you're not doing anything where you have to be involved. I mean, you can delegate a task, but it's not where you're sitting down and you're mentoring, okay? And so when you do this in this way, you create system after system after system. Now, the problem is, a lot of the times is maybe you don't know how to create your own process. Maybe you don't know how to do that. Well, how do you create a step-by-step procedure? How do you create a standard operating procedure? How do you create a documented process that's part of a system? That's totally fair. The thing you have to keep in mind when you are creating these things is that you want them to be simple, a step-by-step checklist. You want them probably to have like a little bit of a why up front. Why are we doing this in the first place? What is this process? Why do we do it? And then really it's step 1, do this. Step 2, do this. Step 3, do that. It takes a long time. That's why I always say that you should have the person you hired do it, so you're not the one doing it. But when you're spending $20 an hour, like, because I live in California, $20 an hour, which is really after payroll and or payroll tax and workman's comp and all those other things, it actually ends up being more like $30 an hour. They can be pretty dang expensive, right? And so that's why if you don't know how to do any of that and you want kind of the cheat code, there's 2 cheat codes we have. One's completely free. Go to instant.myprosulum.com, instant.myprosulum.com. You can pop in the process that you want to create. You can just explain what you're trying to create, and it'll create within 60 seconds a documented process for you, like your own process, step by step and everything like that. It'll do it for you. And if you want to have the real cheat code, you can get what we call a virtual systems architect, a VSA. Now, these are people who are overseas who are more than half the cost of your typical hire in California. So you're paying $20 an hour, you can pay less than that, like half of that, basically, around that, to have somebody who will document the process. They're trained on how to do it. They make them perfect, and then they'll do it. No payroll tax, no workman's comp, nothing like that. And they will do everything that you show them because they've documented it, they've owned it, and now they're making that part of the system. And so every single time you give them a task, they're documenting that. They're putting it as part of your overall system, and then you never have to do that again. Like, imagine 30 tasks. You give them 30 tasks. That's 30 tasks that you're doing right now that you literally never, ever, ever have to do again. It'll be done without you, without fail. That's the power of creating these types of systems. That's the power of creating these types of processes. When you delegate and tell them to follow the process. You don't have to sit, you don't have to train, you don't have to mentor, anything like that. Our guys are trained to do that. That's the beauty of this, is that our guys are trained to do that. So you don't even have to think about it. You literally just, you know, reach out, get a virtual systems architect if you want. Go to www.prosulum.com. If you want to schedule a discovery call and hop on the phone with us, www.prosulum.com/schedule. And you get your virtual systems architect. You work with them for 30 days, by the way, 30 days, and it's a money back guarantee. If you don't like it, that's fine. We will refund you. No questions asked. 30 days, money back guarantee. And you work with them. Every task you give them, they document. Then they document it into as part of your systems. And then you never have to do that task again. So 30 days from now, your 50, 60, 70 hour workload turns into 10, 20, 30 hour a week workload. You get to take those vacations that you wanted. You get to spend time doing the things that you love. You get to make more money because now you're being way more creative with your business. And so that's the power of systems versus delegating. Okay. The more that you're able to create systems rather than delegate, the more you're able to hand off, scale, grow your business literally without you having to do anything. Down the line, all your hiring, all your expansion, everything like that turns into you just seeing what's going on in your business, working on your business, watching it grow like a little beautiful family that just wants to see your company expand because they know exactly how to do it. Because it's all documented in your process, which is part of your system, and it all works without you. So if that sounds good, go start by going to instant.myprosulum.com. Start messing around, getting your free standard operating procedures, and from there, consider getting a virtual systems architect. Half the cost of somebody in the States, half the cost of somebody in-house. Way, way, way more talented, and I know from experience, and it's just a game changer. So go check that out, www.prosulum.com, www.prosulum.com. If you want to schedule a discovery call, go to www.prosulum.com/discovery, and we'll get on a call, make sure it's right for you, and if it is, we will build your business together without you having to spend your 40, 50, 60 hour a week trying to make your business grow. It'll grow without you. All right. This is Dean Soto. Well, thanks for hanging out on this training, and I will see you in the next video.